Good evening. The Toronto Raptors lose 120-113 to the Phoenix Suns in a really fun game. It was a loss, obviously. It's kind of a perfect storm if you want, if you like high-end draft talent and coupled with entertaining basketball. You got to be kind of an edgelord in this game because you got to kind of experience both of those things like simultaneously without committing yourself. And yeah, that's kind of the perfect storm of things, and it was kind of a fun game because it was unexpected and kind of random. It seemed like first half the Suns were just really in control, and it kind of was easy to, I think, tap out a little bit maybe and think that it wasn't going to be serious. And then in a really weird development, the Raptors actually flipped the script on the dreaded third quarter. They've always, the last 30 games, they've just been killed in especially the first half of the third quarter. It's different. They are the ones that came out and actually kind of took the energy back, and those were the two starting lineups together. Unfortunately, it kind of the Suns kind of felt like they were up by 10-13 for a long time. Raptors actually cut it to 5 pretty late. I think a minute 50 they cut it to 5 points, but it's just whenever the Raptors had any juice going, it's just oh yeah, Kevin Durant's on the other team, so he had, I think, 26 second half points or something. He was just, and I thought the Raptors played decent defense against him. It wasn't he was just, bopping and jiving and stuff out there and just kind of dancing around and having fun. He really had to shoot over guys. He really had to put in effort, whether that was against Boucher, which was kind of I think his main assignment, or RJ. I mean, he's able to shoot over anybody. That's kind of one of his many superpowers. But the real kind of random thing in this game, Quickley had a really good game. There's a Scotty appearance, which was fun, but was the resurgence or remergence or something of Christopher Boucher, who he was kind of, I think, one of the main reasons that 13-point lead kind of got cut to 7, and then back up to 10, and then back down to 5 again. He was really impressive. He was just everywhere. I think he had 5 offensive rebounds in 11 minutes or something crazy, or 24 minutes. 5 offensive rebounds and 9 rebounds total on 11 points. He 5 for 6 from the field. And then he was even it was just one of those games where he tried to go up for a rebound, and Raptor legend Drew Eubanks beat him to the rebound and just did a volleyball pass to JFL, who passed it to RJ Barrett in transition for the and one, which is an outlet pass that is as good as Boucher was playing. Probably wouldn't have made it that quickly. It just seemed everything was kind of breaking his way, except for that one call. That was really wild. He wanted a challenge on it. I think that would have been the Raptors' final timeout, so they didn't go for it. And then even weirder was it was a side out of bounds foul. So it was A, it was not a foul at all, and then B, the Phoenix commentators were Phoenix broadcast is really good, by the way. I think it's free. It's separate from Bally Sports, and they're actually really entertaining. The other broadcasts always talk about Gary so much, and he was kind of the other main story in this game. But yeah, broadcasters, the other broadcasts, because I go on TSN Sportsnet detoxes, so I tap into the other broadcasts, and yeah, they always talk about Gary almost just as much as Scotty. But tonight it was warranted. He cooled off a little bit. It was weird. He kept getting open looks in the second half. The commentators and myself were both surprised at how open Gary was on a lot of those shots, and they just missed down the stretch. I think he had 30 points, but I think he had 20 something in the first half, and a lot of the missed threes were in the second half there. But he came out hit his first 3 or 4 threes, kind of set somewhat of a a tone or whatever the fuck that means. Hit the gong, I guess, and created the vibrations to be like, hey, Bruce Brown is wearing like a construction costume on the sideline. Scotty's in a cast, and we're playing against Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. So, and a bench that's just, the Phoenix Suns bench is just kind of like a, I mean, Gordon's probably their best bench guy, but like, I mean, it's kind of just like these loose kind of like accessories or pieces you would kind of put onto something, like a little spoiler or something, but it's not gonna like move the car anywhere. Or like, you know, the back of like Supras in the 70s, like the Mad Max era, when they'd have like the windows with like the slits in them. I forget what those are called, but that's kind of like the Phoenix Suns bench. It's like not that functional. It's just like something you can kind of like put in, which, speaking of putting in, Darko finally decides to put in Boucher, and I think it's a lesson for Darko. Obviously, you know, wins and lessons. It's a lesson season for the coach, first time head coach, and I think it's a lesson that sometimes you have to like put the white paper. That'll go away soon. Don't ever use their services, please. I'm not in control of this. My bosses are. So what was I just gonna, I don't know, I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, it was a fun game. The bench guys for the Suns, I think that's gonna be their big, don't see this movie, that's gonna be their big issue, I think, in the playoffs. I think that kind of happened a little bit too, like against Denver. You had these games where it was like KD and Booker combined for like 97 points and they still lost. Like, they don't have that pop from like anybody. Like, you could tell them talking, like they were so thirsty for Gary, like having a guy like Gary come off the bench for them or something. Like, they just don't have anybody even close to that. Like, could you imagine how threatening this team would be with even like a Jordan Clarkson or something, or even like a Quickley as a six man? They just really like don't have that. And, you know, unfortunately for them, there is like a budget, you know, there's a salary cap. Ishbia really does seem to be like the owner who would be like the Yankees, who would probably just go and buy a bunch of people, so he's probably pretty frustrated. Adam Silver was on the Suns broadcast. They were bantering a little bit. He was openly like, yeah, the All-Star game sucked this year. He didn't say that, that's not a quote, but the Suns broadcast was like, there could be improvements, and Adam Silver was like, thank you for being polite about this year's All-Star game. We're definitely going to look how to try to make it more entertaining for everybody. That was kind of funny. But yeah, great broadcast on the Suns, and I believe that the evil billionaire Matt Ishbia, the loan shark, has given that for free. So respect to them. You know, it's cool stuff. Did you guys check the? Was this a TSN or I think it was a Sportsnet game, wasn't it? I think this is like, what is this, the fifth or sixth Sportsnet game in a row? How was the? Was there any moments? How was the pregame show? One sec. What are you guys? What are people saying? Yeah. Speaking of broadcasts, I should hire a producer at some point. But yeah, this was a fun. I mean, I think the last few games have been, like a struggle to kind of get through. Like the Pelicans game was probably like the fourth worst loss. Like probably the fourth worst loss of the year. Your sound has a rumble going on like a rocket is taking off. That's the sound of the road, buddy. It's the way of the road. But I turned it off. You know, it's a little. I don't want to create too real of a situation here. Like I don't want people on their laptops thinking that we're actually on a road trip here. Like you gotta be safety. You know, safety is a thing. I don't want to be held liable for any accidents people may have. So we'll turn down the sound of the car. Just can't be too real. But if you want that real sound, maybe open up a separate browser with like a car highway sound or something put on. But yeah, Adam Silver was kind of vibing with them for like half of a quarter. I just thought that was kind of wild. I just couldn't imagine like Adam Silver just going like, "Hey Devlin, let's just hang out and talk about how shitty the All-Star game was." So yeah, great broadcast. 3-6 Mafia doing a fucking halftime show live with like this random guy playing guitar, which didn't really fit, but you got to respect the gravitas and the performance. But yeah, it was kind of cool. I don't remember. I mean, Red Panda is definitely the top. I haven't seen her in a little while. But yeah, first quarter we got Quickley and Durant actually kind of getting into it a little bit, which is weird. I wouldn't have expected those guys to be like, those are two pretty calm guys. So for like a couple minutes into the game, for them both to be kind of like shouldering and chesting each other, I thought that was kind of interesting. I got a star next to that, so something I'm going to go back and rewatch and see if there was any weird looks at the jump ball or whatever. It just kind of, it looked like a little bit more than like running through a screen or something. Grady misses. There was a really cool play from Grady who his first three like just missed by like a centimeter from the right corner, and then very next play he took the exact same shot and swished it. It was almost like it happened so quickly. It was almost like getting two shots in the same possession, which is kind of nice because when you're a shooter like Grady is, you can, like after a miss, you can feel in your hand or in your elbow like kind of where you went wrong or like what you need to adjust. And the quicker you can get another shot up, the kind of fresher that is in your mind. So, yeah, it's good that he kind of took that opportunity right away, like 10 seconds later. And it was a good Grady game. You know, the Maple Leafs jersey is, he's seems to be surviving the showing that off, because yeah, he had 12 points tonight. I mean, he didn't light the world on fire, but I mean, I like that he had 10 threes. Is that, I don't know if that's that's not a season high, I don't think, but that's definitely on the higher end. And I do like that he played 31 minutes. I don't know, not that it really matters that people care about it, but like, I'm in this situation, you know, it's the journey to Reed Shepherd at this point, which, by the way, go watch his, even if you're not into college basketball, just go watch the highlights. It was a week ago against Mississippi. He just played like an absolute ridiculous game, but he was like the 7th pick for a long time. He slid up to 4 now. I think after that game, he went up to 4 in a lot of people's draft boards, but drafting's random, you know, and if he was at 7 last week, the March Madness hasn't even happened yet. So, but yeah, with 20 games left, Scotty's not in the lineup. I mean, you may as well just get the fucking pick, you know. But that's like boring to talk about. Quickly, yeah, you got to give. I mean, 18 assists is kind of insane. That has to be like maybe that. I mean, 18 is. That's like John Stockton type shit. 1 rebound away from a triple-double. Just missed a triple-double. Too bad the steal couldn't be added on to the rebounds. But yeah. How many triple-doubles does Quickley have in his career? Somebody look that up. But yeah, he is low-key kind of a good rebounder. I mean, they were all defensive rebounds, but you do kind of see him flying in there. It was weird because like halfway through the second quarter, I wrote that he had only taken 1 2-point shot, and I think he had made 1 or 2 threes. But yeah, he was getting a lot of guys involved, and then I thought in the second half he was more aggressive, and he ended the game with 21 points. And he had good scoring from the Raptors. Like he had Gary with 30, RJ with 23, Quickley with 21. You definitely like 113. It's not really not bad when there's no Scotty, there's no Jakob, and your bench, like Freeman Liberty, you just signed like a contract. Boucher hasn't played. Boucher's played like 5 minutes in 2024. Grady played 31 minutes. Like to get 113 burger, like I don't think you complain. The only thing what you can complain about is this fucking Cascade ad. Yeah, fuck. I don't know, man. I'm a Tide fan until the Tide commercial comes up, and I'll find another one. But and then in terms of the Phoenix Suns, I mean, you've got Kevin Durant. I believe he had 26 of his 35 in the second half. Pretty quiet in the first half. But yeah, anytime the Raptors had any juice going, like the Raptors had a couple 7-0 runs, 5-0 runs, and it's just kind of like give the ball to Kevin and just he will, because obviously he has so many superpowers, but I think the ability to shoot over pretty much everybody other than like Wembanyama, maybe Chet, but probably you can probably still shoot over Chet. Like there's probably one guy in the league he can't really like do that against, and he's not on the Raptors. So, but yeah, just so many difficult shots for him. If you're a Kevin Durant enjoyer, then this was kind of a fun game. Lots of pull-up stuff from him. Lots of just backing him down into the mid-range and then spinning over to the baseline. And nobody really does that move as clean as him. And it's not like that common anymore where you get guys spinning towards the baseline and then kind of falling away. That's definitely much more of like in that LaMarcus Aldridge spot on the baseline. You know, it's like Abaji takes some shots from there once in a while. Gary sometimes too. Dennis used to kind of do that, but obviously not anywhere near with that tact. But that type of those type of shots are just kind of a nice like callback, and he just makes them look so effortless. And yeah, you don't really need like when it's funny, like teams can be built in such different ways. With the Raptors, like ball movement, is so important, but with in terms of like Phoenix, late game situations like this doesn't really matter. And I thought the Raptors late game execution was really poor. That was maybe the only thing you could kind of get depressed about in this game was the last 2 minutes were a pretty rough watch, and Phoenix ends up winning by 7. Probably could have won by maybe 9 or 11, but yeah, they kind of just, and obviously you don't have Scotty, and you're kind of playing weird lineups. You can't really expect they're going to win. Quickley just got absolutely sent to the shadow realm by Bradley Beal. Grady too by Eubanks. That was some white on white crime for sure in the first half. But yeah, that Bradley Beal block on Quickley, that kind of felt like the kind of final point. Like I think if Quickley would have got that, I believe it would have cut the lead to 3, but then just a brutal block, and then I think Phoenix went down, scored on the other end, and then it's a 7. It's a huge swing, 4-point swing. So it was a great block. It's clean. It's just like, damn, Bradley Beal. Okay, wow. Not as nice as Anthony Edwards, getting a concussion via getting domed by the rim on a block, which I don't know if I've seen that before. I can't remember seeing that before, but that was pretty insane. If you haven't seen that, I'm sure you will. If you're online at all or whatever, you'll run into it. It'll happen for you. But yeah, it's I thought, and the other thing that kind of went bad for the Raptors, they're definitely smoking some layups. I mean, Abaji, he had one in the first half where usually I think on smoked layups, it's got to be 75 or too short. And he did it, like he smoked it so long, it almost looked like an edit or something. Like it looked like someone had like cut, like a YouTuber or somebody had like cut a frame or something out of it. Cause I don't know. It just didn't look real. Something about it just didn't look real. Cause he just like overshot. He was wide open and just, it looked like he was too strong. Like I don't have the fucking video game jargon, but he hit whatever button does that too hard or whatever, people say. And he just, overshot it by like 8 feet. It was really wild. He kind of seems to struggle a little bit on like touch, which That's kind of I'd say that's a little bit more concerning than the 3-pointer. I think the touch thing is kind of harder to learn. Like Scotty has touch and he learned the 3-pointer. Like it's I don't know. It's kind of, he's been tough to analyze. He's had a few good games, but it's there's also like he's a project for sure. Like it's kind of funny. It's not like funny, but what is it? It's not. Is it ironic? It's not even anything. It's just I don't know. It's not even interesting. It's like when they said Grady and Abaji stayed in the same dorm room, and Abaji left like the inspirational note, like be great or whatever. And I think Grady is kind of like at a much more refined level, despite being younger, and kind of probably at one point really looking up. It's kind of funny, like looking up to this guy who was such a huge deal for Kansas, like where the fuck are they in Kansas? Some small town in Kansas, legend. I forget what they're talking. I used to like the Jayhawks. I like the bird logo thing. So when I was a kid, when I watched NCAA, I always cheered for the Jayhawks just because of the bird. Big Thomas Robinson, big fan of his back in the day. Whoa, semi tractor trailer. I don't like passing those things. Not a fan. But yeah, also just, it was so funny seeing Adam Silver on the broadcast. I can't reiterate how random it is to just like get up, go to the kitchen to get some kimchi. You come back, and Adam Silver is just like bantering with the guys calling the game, and just being like more chill than you should be, probably just like joking about how the All-Star game was like not entertaining. It was awesome. It was really funny. Great broadcast. Yes, we were on the road. Teasy. We were in Arizona, actually, driving somewhere near Flagstaff. Tom Duke, refs had some atrocious moments. They did. I agree. This was a couple really bad missed calls. I can't remember who was on, but I just remember he hit Gary's wrist or somebody's wrist really hard? Was it Abaji's wrist? Speaking of smoking, you can't really blame him for that. The call on Boucher that he wanted looked at, he wanted inspected, was absurd. There was some. Phoenix got some weird calls against them too, though. I think the refs were just. It was Evan Scott. He's like the 7th worst ref, I think. I'm just gonna put it all on his plate. He's got one of the funnier ref bios on the NBAwebsite.com. It's just very like Joe Rogan podcast. It's like favorite movie, The Godfather, favorite meal, steak and asparagus, dream vacation, Italy. There was a couple more things that just, it was like, yeah, he's taking the alpha brain, he's microdosing, he's got the 5-finger toe shoes, he's taking garlic and turmeric shots. He's probably reading like Malcolm Gladwell books. Actually, what is his favorite? Let's look that up. Evan Scott. Evan Scott. Sounds like a horror movie outside. NBA ref, because yeah, he was smoking some stuff. He was smoking some calls tonight. Evan Scott, favorite TV show, SportsCenter. Favorite movie, Inception. Favorite musician, Prince. Okay, gotta respect that. Favorite app, FaceTime. Would like to most visit Amalfi Coast, yeah, Italy. Favorite meal, steak and asparagus. So, Inception's your favorite movie? I don't know. Of all time? It's always my thing with these. It's like, of all time. FaceTime's his favorite app. I guess that's respectable. Maybe he's... Devin Smith. Why does Darko think Boucher doesn't fit the system? He looks solid. Honestly, my take on the Boucher thing is a first-year coach is going to make... What was the George Karl quote? It's like, I'm going to make 6 mistakes every year. I think that's been one of them, to be honest. Like, I think at some point... you have to realize the upside. He's just like I put on Twitter, like Chris Boucher is like paprika. You can just like toss him randomly in something and things can just happen. Like, and I don't think Darko's recognized that enough. And like hasn't been he probably hasn't been watching the Toronto, like he probably wasn't watching the Toronto Raptors in like 2020 or whatever. Like he wasn't watching the Tampa season. He's probably like hasn't seen all this. Maybe somebody should tell him, but I think tonight maybe is like kind of a message that like, yeah, when you're down by 13 points and you just need a wild card, like he's like the definition of wild card, bitches. Like he could be in that episode. It's a great episode. I haven't watched that show in a while. I gotta that's like, I've had that on my list to rewatch. Kind of went to shit after like 8. I remember season 8 kind of got rough for me, but yeah, great show. But anyways, yeah, he is the wild card. He just like, it's not only that he gives you effort, because that's one thing, like, giving effort is important in those situations, but you need him to score as well. And I feel like he's never shy about scoring, and sometimes that can drive you crazy. And to be honest, like, if I'm the coach, I'm probably not playing him 25 minutes, 28 minutes a game, which I think he was playing kind of at one point. For me, he's more of like a situational guy, and Darko just like has not utilized him nearly enough. And he's effective because not only does he bring the energy, but like he's looking to score. Like as Darko would say, like he plays with force. Like 11 points tonight, 5 for 6, and 5 offensive rebounds. Like he plays really aggressive, and the reason he doesn't fit Darko's system is because he's not a great decision maker. Like I made the joke earlier about Drew Eubanks giving him a solid by out rebounding him and just volleyball tipping it to JFL in transition to feed it to RJ Barrett for the and one, because Chris Boucher is not going to make that outlet pass. Like he's probably going to dribble it maybe a couple times, kind of like dribble and then be like, oh shit, I don't really know how to do this that well. I got to fucking get it off, pass it to somebody, and then he'll throw it out of bounds, or he does that stuff. So if you're Darko and you're all in the ball movement and Chris passes, lead the league in assists, boom, 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 that will drive you crazy. I understand that part of it. But when you just need like a guy to come in and throw a right hook, there's nobody else you have on that bench that's going to do that like him. And they've been down in a lot of games. And I think there's been a lot of games where Chris could have come in and done something like this and just hasn't enough. And the Suns broadcast was making a point of it. They're like, yeah, this is only like the 3rd game he's played in the last however many weeks it's been. Like it's been weird, I think it's been I think there's been some missed juice there. I think Darko maybe was a little bit stubborn in his approach. Like there's been a lot of games where it's like you could have used 5 offensive rebounds and 11 points in, a limited capacity with really good efficiency. And I don't think he really had any like really dumb plays today. Normally you kind of get a couple of those from him, but I thought he was, more composed, more measured. You had speaking of Chris Boucher, kind of a similar build, a little like a larger, more kind of meme version of Chris Boucher is Bol, who knocked down a corner 3, had a mid range that looked really nice too, and yeah, he's obviously got like a big cult following. He always like surprises me when he comes on the floor. Like I always kind of forget, like what team he's on. He's been on like. Where is he? He's been on like Denver. I think he was on Orlando. He reminds me of like Mason Plumlee or something, where it's just like, oh, you're on this team. Oh, okay. That wasn't in my scouting report. I completely forgot. But yeah, Quickley only had 1 2-point shot going through the second quarter, so I thought that was kind of interesting. But he was really breaking down the D well. I think he's keeping his dribble alive a little bit more. I think sometimes it can look like over dribbling, which maybe it is, but I think that's like a transition he's trying to make because he gets in trouble, not really tonight, but in the past, he's really gotten in trouble kind of getting into those crowded paint areas, picking up his dribble and then not having, that's kind of like it's not rule number 1, I guess, but it's one of the top rules. You only kill your dribble when you absolutely have to, like you're going out of bounds, you're falling out of bounds, the last second before you're falling out of bounds, and you have to just pick up the ball to like do something with it to get rid of it. It's like a bomb. Or you absolutely know what you're gonna do, or you've kind of set up a move where you're gonna pivot and then go into this. Quickley, it when he picks up his dribble in these situations, you can tell immediately he doesn't have a plan, because he's not doing anything really except for looking around for who to pass to. And I think he's obviously, I mean, that's kind of been, I think, the number one note for him, and it's been talked about quite a bit. But yeah, I think he was better in that regard, and I think sometimes it might look like over dribbling. Like there were a few possessions tonight where he's getting in, and he's kind of like dribbling around, kind of surveying, not really Dennis Schroeder style, but of that ilk, not as like laborious. And so I think that's just going to be like a thing that he's got to kind of work through. But I'd rather see him over dribbling than killing his dribble and then just, a turnover or a really awkward one-legged floater thing. So yeah, I think he's gotten better. He's gotten better at that. I think the three has fallen off for him a little bit. But he's still, he's still being aggressive with it. He's 2 for 7 tonight. I feel like he's had a lot of like 2 for 7, 2 for 9. Sometimes I think when he's open, he kind of takes that second to be like, oh shit, I'm open. And it's not like you can't do that, but just watching the NBA over the years, like the greatest shooters never did that. Like Steph Curry never did that. Ray Allen never did that. It's like the shot is kind of always the same regardless of, like Kobe would never be like, oh shit, like I'm open, this is great. It's just immediate, like I'm gonna kill you, like. And I think he kind of takes that second to be like, oh shit. And someone who doesn't do that, or doesn't do that often, is Grady, actually. I think Grady's really good with that. Grady's really good with just like, boom, like he knows he's shooting. He does a lot of work off the ball, to get. He does a lot of work off the ball to get to be in a position where he's going to be taking the shot. Again, he had 10 threes tonight. He liked that aggressiveness from him. But yeah, I think for Quickley, that's another thing he's kind of got to, kind of look at. But 18 assists, I mean, I mentioned it before, but 18 assists, you at least got to mention that 2 or 3 times in a fucking post-game show. That's got to be a career high for him, I would bet. And got to be up there in, Raptors lore, Raptors history. TZ says Boucher take. Trash clips. Thank you for the research. Here we go. IQ has had 2 career triple doubles. So that's what I mean. So it's not like, it is kind of a special thing for him to get it. So it sucks that he like just missed it by 1 rebound. Maybe it'll change. You never know. Sometimes like stats people fuck it up and it gets. I mean, it's not as special afterwards. Like a post dated, I guess, like a fucking like later gram. Is that still a thing? Of a triple double, but sometimes rebounds get changed retroactive, so maybe he'll get lucky and he'll get bumped up and get the 10 rebounds, because 18 assists, like that's a pretty wild stat line. 21, 18, and 9, even on its own, but 21, 18, and 10 would just look a little bit cooler. But I also like how Darko kind of just rode Quickley. Like Quickley had 40 minutes tonight. Seems like a really rare thing for Darko. I think that's another thing that he's got to kind of, I don't know if he has to fix it, but it's like, I don't think he's played his starters enough in certain situations. Like I think he's always, he it sounds contradictory, but it's like he always has these kind of set lineups where it's like the starters, no matter what, will always obviously start, and then they'll always be first half of the third quarter and second half of the fourth quarter, regardless of what's happening in the game. They'll always be in those situations. And I think being that rigid, it seems like disallowed for players outside of overtime games to hit the 40-minute mark. Like it's really rare in the box scores. I look at the box scores every game. It's really rare in the box scores to see the 40 next to a Raptor player. I think that's another thing for Darko. Like especially in a development year, like these are young guys. Just fucking let them run around and have fun and go nuts. But yeah, like I like to see the the 40 minutes from him, and then 37 from Barrett. So yeah, they played a lot of minutes. Weird game from Abaji, like 3 points in 24 minutes, 1 assist. It's just, I don't think, like, I don't think it coming from the trade, it was like, this is not like a really touted, it's kind of like a Jordan Wara. I feel like they're kind of not that far away from each other in terms of how you would kind of value them as a prospect. It just kind of felt like that kind of thing. I mean, it's nice if it works out, but it's not the center part of the transaction. And I would say he's been like underwhelming. Jordan Wara, I've actually been kind of impressed with, although the defense I don't say I've been impressed with him, but like more impressed than I thought I would. And I think with Ocha, I've just been a little bit more like, I think for me, the thing that really worries me is the touch. I just don't know if the touch is there. And that, I feel like touch and basketball IQ is like, those are probably the two things that you just don't see people learning that much. Like, you see people improve their handle, you see people improve their shot, you see people improve their free throws, you see people improve their like passing accuracy, but not like playmaking IQ accuracy. Like, players, it's kind of not that common. It's like, it's really common for players to have like big scoring jumps or kind of change that part of their game. But unless there's a huge jack in usage rate, kind of becoming like a playmaking hub later in your career is like, it doesn't really happen. Like, you kind of, and I think with touch, it's a bit of a similar thing. It's kind of like a hard to measure. I think with like analytics and just kind of like the Moneyball, that Moneyball scene where they're like, oh yeah, he's whatever. I think you got to be somewhere kind of in the middle of those two things. And I think touch is just one of those things that like you just can't really, there's no like, it's not going to come out in the draft combine of like, oh yeah, he's got a 74-inch touch, but it's something to definitely look for. And yeah, as a younger prospect, I don't know. That's the thing that worries me more than the three ball, because the three ball can more so be learned. I mean, look at like fucking like Robin Lopez, Brooke Lopez. I always get those two mixed up. Here we go. Trash Lips doing the Lord's work here in the chat. IQ's 18 assists ties Jose Calderon and TJ Fords for third in franchise history. Fred holds the record with 20. Damon Stoudemire and Calderon twice are tied for second with 19. So right up in that range, right up in that, like, couple guys hit a couple more shots, could have had the record, like right there. Maybe I should have put Quickley in the thumbnail. Sorry, Chris. But yeah, that's why this was like a fun game. This is like I think this is a good rewatch game. Obviously they lost, but you kind of got everything from this in a way. Like, you got closer to the draft pick, you got entertaining products. You just saw a random Chris Boucher wildcard. Quickley almost broke a record. Durant, just like, you get beautiful aesthetic Kevin Durant, which I'm sorry if you don't enjoy, like, if you don't enjoy watching him operate on offense, like, I don't know, like, he's got to be the most, maybe not the most, but like just aesthetics, just pure, like, I'm high as shit and I'm looking at my computer screen and it looks cool. He's fucking up there, man. Like, it's pretty special watching him. Especially, my favorite shot from him is always the back down. Like, he'll be on the left side of the court, backing a guy down, dribbling with his right hand, and then he turns over to the baseline and kind of fades off of that one leg, kind of into the out of back. Like, that's always just my favorite. And he had a few of those tonight, so it's always fun to. And then so 2:18 in the second quarter. I'm slowly working through the game notes here. Nurk and Gary had a couple moments, former teammates. Gary Trent and Yusuf Nurkic, formerly of the Portland Trail Blazers. Yusuf Nurkic, son of the largest father in the world, a 400-pound police officer who beat up 14 guys at once. And that's actually how Nurkic got discovered. One of the most amazing NBA stories in the NBA is like Yusuf Nurkic's come up, where they literally just, so his dad, like there's a picture of his dad. Don't buy the Swiffer thing. There's a picture. I actually put it on. I don't know if I made it like an actual tweet, but I replied to it, so it'll be on my Twitter. But you can just search like Yusuf Nurkic's father. There's a picture of him sitting in the stands, and you can just see he's like 25 times larger than anybody else in the photo. Like it's just it looks photoshopped. It's incredible. And there was like a viral story in Bosnia where they're from of like police officer beats up 14 guys at once. And I don't know how it happened, but like I don't know if this is just like a Bosnian thing or something, but there was some like this is just like such a Balkan story where someone just like saw the story of this like insanely large man and just wondered if they had any kids that could play basketball. Like I think it was actually a coach who like watched it on the news or something. And then yeah, it turned out that he had a son that was like, I think like 6, probably 8 or something at the time, and 200 whatever, probably, maybe not, but yeah, probably 200. What am I talking about? Just a unit. And I don't know, I don't know how young he was though, but I think like for his age he was like a standout big guy. But yeah, it's Yusuf Nurkic's dad just being like an absolute tank. So yeah, shouts to Nurkic for being like, wow, there's lots of guns in America. It's not completely. He didn't get like into a cult or anything. So that's cool. The Phoenix broadcast, they really liked because Javon Freeman Liberty checks in and they're just like, oh, Freeman Liberty, that's a really nice name. I was like, yeah, could you imagine how much that jersey would sell in Arizona? Where would that jersey sell the most? The Freeman Liberty jersey. What states would that jersey sell the most? Arizona, New Hampshire, Wyoming, Florida. Freeman Liberty. Those are the top ones, I would say. Idaho, Tennessee, Missouri, Oklahoma. But I think like Arizona. I think that like kind of Arizona, Wyoming, Florida. That's really the epigraph, like the epigraph, whatever. 3PL Logistics, holler at me. I wrote down Grady Dick, good defense on Eric Gordon. Cool. I don't remember what context of that was, but apparently Grady had some good defense against Eric Gordon. I think it was navigating a screen. Okay, so yeah, one thing I wanted to get to with Gary, who I have already said this like 8 times. Good game, 30 points, really aggressive score. So there was a game a few weeks ago. I'm actually working on a video for it, where the kind of storyline, I was kind of guilty of this too. It had just come after the Trae Young game where it's like Gary Trent Jr. shuts down like Tyrese Halliburton, who has like the worst game of his career. And it was right after Trae Young had that really bad game and Gary was guarding them. And there was all this like, I went back and watched that game because I'm working on a video for it. Gary played good defense, but it wasn't like shut down defense like it kind of looked like on a first watch. There were a lot of instances where he was getting beat on the perimeter and getting bailed out by the bigs, crashing, like clotting in the paint, and then causing his man to kick the ball out. And so ever since I've kind of saw that and experienced that and like really felt it and really kind of went, oh, maybe this video I'm working on isn't as cool as I thought it was going to be. Going through that pain really kind of opened my eyes to, I'm just like noticing it all the time now where he is getting beat and guys have to collapse to kind of fix the mistake, or Gary will foul the guy being behind him. So yeah, he's not, you can see it in transition. Like I think it's like hip mobility is not, it's not as kind of, Well, he there is limited athleticism with him. I think that's part of it. Is that kind of like he just doesn't seem to turn his hips that well and slide. He kind of just gets. I mean, he gambles a bit, but I think it's more because you can gamble and then get back in position, but he kind of gambles and then he doesn't then have the speed or athleticism to kind of get back after the gamble. So it's kind of this like two-pronged issue that I'm just seeing kind of over and over again. It's like I can't like unsee it now. So, but great scoring game from him. I mean, I don't think the Raptors would have been even tasting this game without his shooting, especially in the beginning. And then Grayson Allen, like I don't know what Ted Cruz, like 12. I mean, you had Ted Cruz in the game tonight cooking. You had Mark Jackson on the Raptors show earlier today. Either Freeman Liberty, Arizona jersey. So it's a big day for the world's smartest people. You know, probably the play of the game is the Boucher reverse slam against Nurkic. It was I think pretty soon into him checking in. And it was just like, oh, shit. Like, that was... And the Raptors social account posted it, but I thought the reverse angle of it looked even better. It was a really nice play. Like, not only a great highlight, but, like, a functional, smart thing to do that Nurkic was, like, about to cook him, and he kind of had the ability to use the rim as a like, a screen, basically, and just go to the other side. Nurkic wasn't able to block him. Oh, yeah, really bad call here. I wrote this down. This could be an episode. Tom Duke earlier in the thing said, bad refereeing. KD got away with murder on Abaji. Yeah, I think I mentioned that. Yeah, I did mention that already, but I'm just remembering in my head now how bad it was because I've got a star next to it. Anytime there's a star, that's when it's really, that's a big fucking deal if there's a star next to it. And there is a star next to it, so... that was bad, and I do remember now. So that could be a video. You know, Kevin Durant doesn't foul Ochai Agbaji. Could be a video. Could be a future video. And then why did someone say Sabonis? Eubanks, you know, sending Grady into the shadow realm. But I thought Eubanks did the Raptors some favors tonight. Again, that great outlet pass to JFL. Smoked a dunk, but he had to play kind of a big role for them off the bench. And I thought the Suns bench was... they just had some issues, you know. 6 points, 5 points, 11 points, 0 points. Saban Lee, 0 points. He got cooked by Grady a couple times. Cooked by RJ a couple times. Former, I think, Raptor 905 legend. Big Blake Murphy guy. But yeah, then the Suns go on a 13-4 run at the start of the fourth. And then it was just this seesaw of Raptors going on little runs and then Kevin Durant going on little runs. And then Raptors going on a little run and then Kevin Durant going on a little run. And it just seemed like the Raptors' buckets were harder to get. And Kevin Durant was just kind of gliding along down, just pulling up and fucking fading baseline. Again, yeah, he had 35. Got his number. He scored his number, so it's kind of aesthetically pleasing. David Fizdale. The Fizz was in this one. Assistant coach, David Fizdale. I think a lot of the Raptor legends have left, though. Like, Utah's not there anymore. Ish Wainwright was in a commercial on the broadcast, but he's not there anymore, I don't think. But, yeah, Thad Young is now a Phoenix Sun. I thought Thad Young as a sleeper cell was kind of the Raptors' only chance there for a little bit before they came back. But, yeah, you got Thad Young on the sideline, probably giving every little – there was a picture of him and Beal giving him every little – detail of like, oh yeah, he moves like this. You can beat him going left. You can beat, you know, don't go this, go around here. He has the tendencies to do this. He's probably got all the little, you know, little tricks, you know. Paid him all this money and now he's selling the secrets to the enemy. But Azotam, you know, maybe he can get sued by Masai. Yeah, Boucher had a really bad call against them. I forget who fouled him. I think was it Nurkic? Or like he fouled Nurkic and then it was Eubanks. They called a foul on Boucher against Eubanks and it was a side out of bounds, but Eubanks was right by the hoop and had just shot it. So it was like, not only was it not a foul, but then it was a side out of bounds. It was really, like, both teams were just like, what the hell are you, Evan Scott, what the hell are you doing? Go watch Inception again. Go have a fucking ribeye steak and some asparagus. Come back to me with some better decisions. 3:55, Grady and RJ Barrett hit back-to-back threes, and the Raptors cut the lead back to 7. Don't worry about your teeth. You don't need to brush your teeth. Fuck the marketing campaigns. What they're lying to you. So you kind of felt like, hey, 3:55 left, 7-point deficit, and then the Bradley Beal block on Quickley with like 2 minutes left just really hurts. But then the Raptors cut it back to 5, and then the execution just got shitty. Turnovers, missed shots, bad passes, kind of got clammy. I don't feel like anybody on the Raptors was like driving the car at the end. Like there was what game is it recently where Quickley made like 6 free throws in a row? 6 free throws. And we have 24 free throws. 2 free throws. Quickley hit 6 free throws in a row. And I thought I gave him props for like taking control. He didn't take over the game, but he was like driving the car. Speaking of, we're on a road trip. I had to turn the sound. People were complaining earlier that I had to turn the sound off. I had the sound of the car going, and it was too real for some people. They were freaking out on their laptops, so I had to turn the sound off. I just want people to be safe. I don't want people to be on their laptop and think that they're, driving or operating a vehicle. You shouldn't be operating a vehicle if you're stoned. I shouldn't even be operating this vehicle right now. So be careful out there on the road, and do I say I say a lot, don't I? I gotta edit that out. I gotta self-edit that. Will says in any case a lot. Have you noticed that? It used to be he used to say look, listen. But now it's in any case. But I think for me it's so I gotta meditate on that a little bit. How was Alvin today? I think I'm getting worse than Alvin now. I think Alvin and Randy Urban have surpassed my legacy. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you've got this young developing team on one side, and then you want to say they've got. I mean, they had no Devin Booker tonight, obviously, but it's like you want to say it's Bradley Beal or Kevin Durant, but really it's like they have Kevin Durant on the other end. Bradley Beal, he's had like a weird career. I mean, obviously, so much of it has been determined by his role or his being on the Wizards for most of his career, but there isn't a ton of like the Bradley Beal playoff mixtape is like not that long. I'm not. I don't. What am I doing? I didn't even mean to be. I don't know where I'm going with this. I just meant that like Kevin Durant on his own. What I'm trying to say is enough to like outmaneuver a young team. Like he can not obviously not single handedly, but like relatively single handedly beat you if you've got a squad of kind of younger guys who are figuring out how they all fit together, where they got their shots from. He's got that. He knows he's got that figured out. There's a great article, I forget who wrote it, but about how like he doesn't have a girlfriend, doesn't really socialize that much. Like it's like weed and basketball. You just go to his house at like 1 a.m. It's just like smoking weed and basketball. It's like it. And Twitter. So. And it shows, that psychotic obsession really shows. And I've recommended this video a few times. It's by, I think, Ball is Life, but it's like Scotty's actually randomly in the background of it. It's a few years old now, but it's a one-on-one kind of king of the court style. I just really like the camera angle on it. Like they're kind of like they're kind of at like an angle you don't really see on TV that much, where they're almost like they're standing where the corner 3 is, kind of looking at this one-on-one game. And it's like Durant's there, Booker's there, Miles Turner, Jason Tatum, Paul George, some pretty heavy hitters. And it's my favorite video to watch on 25% speed because you can see all the little intricate, because it's from a great angle. It's like you can't really see that angle that often. You can just see all the little intricate, like every like piece of the biomechanics of the jump shot or the jab step or the defense even. And just he's like Kevin Durant along with Luka are two players that when you watch them at 25% speed, it's almost like you can see, I don't know, it's hard to explain. How do you explain watching something on 25% speed? It's like you can see the detail because the games happen so quickly and it's really aesthetic, but it's like when you really see the detail, and it's not saying that, the Miles Turners or the Devin Bookers aren't nice to look at as well, but there's just like, it's like a certain level higher where it's like everything is just like so refined and perfect. And you really see that at like 25% speed where it's just like, wow, every single bone and muscle is like moving in unison at the exact same time. So yeah, go watch Kevin Durant highlights on 25% speed while you're baked on a road trip in Arizona somewhere. But that's going to be it. Any last words in the chats? Trash Clip said they cut to Gary Trent Sr. in the crowd when JR was at the free throw line. As Matt was saying, his father looking on, but he was looking at his phone. Maybe he was nervous because Gary's had a struggle at the free throw line. So maybe he was booking his next podcast appearance. He should just have his own like long form. He should have a post game show. I should get Gary Trent Sr. on the post game show. Just play him rap songs and ask him if it's cooler than Jay-Z's Empire State of Mind. It's like old Memphis tracks. Just like Tommy Wright, old 3-6 who did the halftime show today, by the way. Lord Infamous, Koopsta, show him all those guys, all the old Memphis, all the tapes, Blackout from like 95, super lo-fi with like the detuned cowbell. It's like, is this better than New York? Don't treat, don't go. I like Jay-Z, but I've never really gone out of my way to expand on what I already know. You know what I mean? It's like you hear, and it's like I feel like I've heard enough to get it, and I just like, it's like he's really confident. That's one thing that really stands out. It's like he is very confident in what he's doing and how well he's performing, and I don't find that relatable. So I like it. Probably my favorite songs are like 22 Twos, Heart of the City, Big Pimpin'. Kind of a drop. I don't want to. Then there's kind of like a next tier down, but I didn't really get past like knowing 23 songs by him. You know what I mean? It just never got to that point. Why am I talking about that? How did I get to this? Gary Trent Sr. Yeah, so Gary Trent Sr.'s absolute GOAT is Jay-Z, which is a lot of people's. And I feel like sometimes am I being too contrarian? Because I never got into Tupac either, or Nas really that much. So I do have, like, I have one mic on vinyl. I have Hate Me Now on vinyl. I have, I have one more. What is it? It'll come to me. I like, but it's the same kind of thing. I never got outside of that 20. He's better than Tide. Fuck. Didn't I say earlier that I was a Tide? How many fucking companies make laundry detergent? It's laundry. Don't support them. Don't do the hashtag. If you ever see a company being like, put this hashtag out, like smoother styled, like hashtag, please don't do it. don't ever do anything a company tells you or asks you to do ever. Anyways, yeah, Nas. It's like good segue. I feel like with Nas, every song is just like, did he just watch like an Alex Jones documentary for like the first time and he's really like amped up about it or something? It's just like so many things with him is just like who really built the pyramids, who really prints the money, who's really controlling. Like it's very like, it's like, okay, you read Chomsky, great. It's not really what I listen to like rap for. I'm not looking to like get educated on anything. I'm stupid, I'm dumb as shit. He's got a nice voice though. Like that's the thing with Tupac. I never really liked his like. I just didn't like the voice itself. And then every song seemed to be about like empathy and like killing people, but never like fantasy. Like it didn't seem like there's no metaphor in it. I don't know. But again, it's like I never got deeper than kind of the reserve catalog, like of the kind of popular sensational rappers. It was only Biggie that I really got into. Like I kind of went past although he doesn't have a massive catalog, it's like what 2 full-length albums or something, so maybe that's a bad measure all the time of like the 20-25 song thing, but yeah. Really like I think old Mobb Deep is underrated. Like the old stuff. They got like in the 2000s, they had a couple songs that made it onto Entourage. There was one that was really bad. I could hear it in my head. It's like the it's not horrible, but it's just like it's very 2000s. It's very like Young Buckish. But their like earlier 90s stuff is really good. Big L, obviously. I would say most of my vinyl collection is rap, hip hop. I definitely do have some like nerdy Midwest stuff, like ID and Abilities, Atmosphere, Soul, like anything like Anticon or like Mush. I would just automatically buy. It's like that's an automatic buy. Anticon, Mush, Ninja Tune, Stone's Throw. Just automatic buys. Buy. Jim Cramer. Buy. What am I talking about? Talking about music, folks. Talking about fucking American music because we're in America right now. But I'm losing my mind. So, do we hit now? We hit an hour 3. Wow. I always think it's been like 13 minutes, and I just talk for an hour and 3 minutes. But it's been a fun road trip. Hopefully nobody got motion sickness or any pits. Oh, this is kind of cool. Whoa. Anybody need to make a pit stop? Got a gas station coming up soon. I think we're by Flagstaff somewhere. You guys ever been to Flagstaff? It doesn't look as nice as like some parts of Arizona. It's not Sedona. But I think we're somewhere near Flagstaff. Let me turn the sound back on. No, let's not turn the sound back on. I might watch Escape from Alcatraz again. I watched it last night. Clint Eastwood. The soundtrack's amazing. Re-listen to the soundtrack. If you make like sample-based beats or music, you have to listen to the Escape from Alcatraz soundtrack. It's so perfect because it's so atmospheric. Like so many movies like that, they'll get like a big soundtrack, like a big score, and it's really all these like elements happening. It's really hard to like get an individual sound or like work into a track or even use like could you even use it in Raptor Moments videos now that I'm thinking about it. It's like really minimal, but it really just hits you. Such a dark, and they filmed the movie in Alcatraz actually. They spent like $500,000 back in the day, which was a lot to refurbish the prison enough so they could film in it. I actually went there on a tourist trip when I was a kid, so it just hits a little bit harder watching the movie, knowing like I walked through it. Just has a little, like I remember just like, the thing I really remember about Alcatraz was the rain, number one, and the fucking like the seagulls there are like I'm in Vancouver. We got seagulls. We got beanie seagulls out here, but it was another level, man. Like you get off the wharf there, you getting your fresh crab, and then you hit the boat and you get onto the rock, and it's like, holy fuck, there's some gulls here, bud. That was harsher than the. And sometimes seagulls will randomly have like blood on them, like I don't know. It's like it was very like Hitchcock birds, kind of like you birds could easily just pick one of us to eat. Like it had that energy. And then it's like you're on a prison rock. You're on like the most famous prison in the world with all these fucking seagulls. It always looks so swimmable to me. That's the thing I don't get about Alcatraz, because one guy actually did make it. They found him under the Golden Gate Bridge, but now it's a triathlon route. It's like a famous triathlon route, like the Alcatraz swim. But in the movie, based on real events, it's still unknown whether or not they're still around. Like the FBI, they were on like the America's Most Wanted list like forever. There was thought that maybe they. Do you guys know about this story? Do you guys know about the escape from Alcatraz? Like how they escaped? It's actually wild. There's been like so Alcatraz was this prison in the Bay of San Francisco. It's still there. Like the building is still there. It's on this rock. It's like, I think it's like a mile from land or something, like from San Francisco, and then it's pretty far from the Golden Gate Bridge, but it's like in the middle of this bay, but it's not that far. Like they do triathlons there, like in present day, but like the water's really cold. There's lots of currents. So they sent prisoners there who not only, like Al Capone was there, like they sent kind of their top. Oh, this is perfect. I was talking about Nurkic's dad, who's a cop earlier, so it fits in. But they would send kind of like the worst of the worst there. So like if you were like so the main guy at Clint Eastwood, Frank Morris, who's a real life guy, like he had broken out of like 8 prisons or something. So if you break out of 8 prisons, they send you there because the thing is like you can't break, like no one, in their words, had ever broken out or had ever successfully broken out or successfully escaped, because they all just drown in the water or get caught or whatever. And so in 1962, Frank Morris gets put into Alcatraz, and his like first day there, he's looking for ways to break out. Like that's immediately, like he just like doesn't give a fuck about. I don't say he doesn't give a fuck about anything. Like he does make friends in the prison, like Doc and Litmus, but he's really just like on a mission to get out of here. And so many of the escape attempts were kind of amateurish, like people just running out of, like there was one guy who was like working in like the garbage compactor. Like that was like his job, was like the garbage something on the island, and he just like ran to the water and tried to swim away, and just like they just shot him like right there. Or there's guys that like tried to climb up the fence and just got shot right on the spot. And then some people just got away, but then they didn't have a plan for the water and tried to swim and just like died of drowning, hypothermia. So this guy comes along and he has a much better plan. He finds that there's like a grate in his cell, and all the stone around it, it's like a vent, all the stone around is loose. So he starts digging it out kind of slowly, and then he makes paper mache. He makes a paper mache version, paints it the same color as the wall so that the guards don't see that he's digging a fucking hole in his wall. And then he puts the vent kind of back in. He solders like a nail clipper with a spoon and makes this like digging tool. And that hole leads to a utility hallway. Again, this is all true, all happened. It leads to a utility hallway, and he's like climbing around the utility hallway, and then he finds this like secret area at the top of their cell block that the guards don't really know about. So that's where they start stashing all of their raincoats and paddles and shit to escape with. And then every time they left their cell to go up there, they had paper mache heads with hair in the bed so that the guards walking by doing the checks, because they checked on them all the time at like even in the middle of the night, wouldn't realize that they weren't there. And the night that they escaped, they did the same thing. They put the heads in the bed, and then they went in the hole. So then the prison didn't know that they escaped until the morning later. So they had like a 9-hour head start. And to this day, it's a mystery as to like what happened. But the prison was really adamant that they drowned. They were like really dismissive of it. And in the movie, they add this antagonist character who didn't really exist in real life. This warden who's kind of like, you need a movie antagonist. He's like this really brutal guy. And he's like adamant that they drowned. And then a year later, Alcatraz closed because of quote unquote, it was too expensive. It was because they fucking escaped. So they basically shut down this like brutal prison where there were like just awful, like insanely awful conditions. They'd get like locked in cells and just like sprayed with a hose, completely naked for like 19 days. They'd have like 1 hour a week of yard time. Like it was, yeah, brutal. You're out on it's a good movie, good soundtrack. There's a part in the movie that looks really racist, but I think it's more him just like fucking around in the prison. Like he's very, kind of reminds me of like Jack Nicholson in Cuckoo's Nest a little bit. He's just like really comfortable with everybody and like joking around. But there are a couple clips. Maybe don't watch it with your family. But so I might just watch that movie again. But yeah, the Raptors. But I'm here in Arizona, so we'll see. Raptors lose by 7. Fun game. Chris Boucher, Wildcard. Quick